right? So are you paying up for a DFS hitter for your lineup?
Yeah, I want to avoid Boston and Tampa to some extent as the expensive teams, and maybe even Cleveland too. I think there should be a lot of ownership on those three. So the team I'm looking at as the pivot is the Blue Jays. And I think Chris Flexen is a fine pitcher. He doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, but the appeal here is just that I think the Blue Jays go overlooked in an okay matchup, maybe a decent matchup, and they are a little more expensive than some of these other teams. But Vlad Jr., 6,200. I mean, you don't really have to make too much of a case for Vlad on any given night. He's just an unbelievable hitter, probably the best hitter in the MLB right now. And I think his ownership will be in check. I think the Blue Jays in general as a stack will be moderately to low owned. So that's the team that I like the most at this point, with some other teams in their price range being probably a lot chalkier.
All right, Paul, where are you going for a DFS hitter?
I've got a couple for you. You have to like CJ Cron at $4,300 heading into tonight's action. There's not a hotter hitter of late, in my opinion. He has 8 hits in his last 19 at-bats, including 14 RBIs and 4 homers last week. Meanwhile, the pitcher's coming off the IL stint after being rocked in his last 4 starts. So I like that matchup. Then, similarly, I like Louis Urias, who is in the middle of his own power surge with 3 homers and 8 ribbies, including in his last 10 for 18 streak over the last week. He'll cost you $4,000 as he faces Pirates starter Mitch Keller, who's been pretty awful in pitching to a 7.02 ERA in his last 10 starts. And guys have been talking about Albert Alzolay. He's 0-8, maybe a lot of lack of run support, but also with a 5.90 ERA in his last 10 starts. He's facing Lewis Brinson, and this is a shocker for me. $2,000 price tag for a guy who's on an 11 for 21 streak, which includes 3 homers and 8 RBIs. Somebody's got to explain that one to me.
All right, Erik, a DFS hitter that you want in your lineup. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a bargain. The guy who's just at 2,800, although he performs like somebody about double that price when he's in the lineup, and that's Darren Ruff. He's just a part-time guy, occupies the short side of a platoon, but he's been mashing lefties. He's hit 3rd or 4th against the last 6 lefties the Giants have faced, including since Brandon Belt, his fellow first baseman, has returned to the lineup. He's still been in there. And actually, he's been having his kind of Eric Thames renaissance ever since coming back from KBO, not getting quite the same hype that Thames did. But he's hit 273, 381, 542, and now just over 300 plate appearances over the last 2 seasons after spending 3 years as a Samsung Lion. He's got a 1,028 OPS against lefties this season, and it's not just this year where he's been a lefty matcher. Over the course of his career, which includes some rather mediocre years in Philadelphia before he jumped overseas, he has just a 91 WRC plus against righties, which is why he never stuck around as an everyday player, but a 152 mark, so over 50% better than the average hitter against southpaws over the course of his career. You're not going to get a guy who hits lefties that well under 3,000. I know Austin Gomber's been fine this year, but he's not scary enough to keep me away from somebody who hits lefties as well as Ruff does.